Number 3, or number 4 actually, karaoke. One of the things that was a very healing and transformative thing, the one thing I could say the most transformative thing that I did in my 20s was joining a men's group. I participated in this men's group for about a year. And if it was a sponge, I squeezed out every ounce of anything I could get from that sponge to the point where the sponge was dry. And then that's why I decided to leave. I challenged myself enough to where I didn't need to be a part of the group anymore. And that's the point of it. It's not something that you use as a crutch to rely on. You use it for what it's meant to be used and get rid of it when it's done. Or you leave, you don't get rid of it. But through that, we challenged ourselves through acting and all this other stuff. But one night we decided to challenge our social anxiety. What we did, we went karaoke. We went to a karaoke bar. We found a bar. Oh, actually, it was a karaoke bar. We went to a bar that had a karaoke night every Thursday or whatnot. And a lot of the guys in the group don't drink or didn't drink. And we decided to challenge ourselves. It wasn't that busy in the bar. There was a few people there. And I think it's just the fact of being able to go up in front of an audience where all of the eyes are on you and doing your thing was the thing that we set out to do, to challenge ourselves. And ultimately what I realized was I didn't need alcohol or I didn't need any sort of crutch to do what I set out to do. And the fact that I was able to go within myself and pull out whatever courage or whatever I needed to pull out in order to allow me to do what I did, I think was very transformative. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, that I didn't need any of these other proxies or any of these other things to help me tap into myself. Like I was able to get up in front of a bar full of probably like 9-10 people and sing a song, even though I'm not a singer. I don't sing. I sing in the shower. But ultimately what that did was it created another positive reference point. The one thing that's different about the other positive reference points I had in the past is what I had. I had a support group. I had a network. I had my friends there that were also willing to challenge themselves as well. That didn't care about how well I sang the song. That cared more about if I did it. And I did do it. And if at any point anybody didn't want to do it, we didn't push them and say that you're a failure for not doing it. We challenged ourselves to go out and do what we set out to do. So what I wanted to do was put myself into the social environment and cut through the anxiety. Because if I look back at my other reference points in terms of dealing with anxiety, I had to ask myself, is this anxiety of the mind through my thoughts, or is this an anxiety through something external presenting itself, triggering my fight or flight response? I couldn't see anybody's thoughts, so no one was up there holding a gun at me saying, you better hit all these notes. That wasn't happening. The only fear was the fear of other people's thoughts, which I cannot see physically. That fear could only manifest if somebody, for example, was pointing their finger saying, you suck, boo, da-da-da. But even at that point, I had enough confidence and courage within myself to say, hey, look, I'm doing something to make myself feel uncomfortable. If you think I suck, why don't you come up here and do this then? And most of the time, the people that go out of their way to shit on those experiences, half the time they don't even have the courage to do it. So that in itself puts anybody that's willing to kind of put themselves out there and challenge themselves, gives them a leg up because they're doing something most people aren't willing to do. So as funny as it might have been, or as much as I might have butchered this song, Feeling Good by Michael Bublé, as much as I must have, I give myself a 7 out of 10 in terms of how I went about it. But like I said before, in all these other audios, it left me with a positive reference point that I could look back at, no matter how the experience turned out. The one and the biggest takeaway is the fact that I did it and I completed it. And I like to equate that to putting on armor and grabbing your sword and going into that cave. Regardless if you come out beat up and bruised, you went in there and faced whatever was in there. And I was lucky to have a bunch of people, a group of guys that were waiting outside of that cave, ready to embrace me and support me.